What's up? Haha! Shout out to Koala Animations for the sick intro video. I love it, man. I love it. I told my son, I said, make me a cool intro video, something to do with Bitcoin. And he came up with that. It's fire. I love it. So I was sick this weekend. My voice is a little bit off. I wanted to do a video Friday and yesterday, but I got to jump in today. Anything going on out there? Anything exciting happening in stocks and crypto? Yo, what a crazy, crazy week. All right. I got to be honest, guys. I could care less about tariffs. I could care less about any of that. It just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That's the narrative this week. That's the reason why the market is very volatile this week. That'll resolve itself at some point, and then something else will come along, and then something else will come along, and then something else will come along. Doesn't matter, right? So the video today, it's kind of about that kind of moves I've been making, some feedback, trying to put things in perspective, and just make you realize, like, if you have a plan and you have good advisors and good coaching, none of this matters, man. In the times like this is the burning building, right? This is those moments where you should be greedy when others are fearful, right? And if you're greedy when others are fearful, like right now, you can set yourself up very well for the future. But if you're running around scared and you're reacting and you're just dumping stuff and you don't understand the perspective of where we are, then, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And that's okay, right? We have to make mistakes so we can learn lessons, sometimes expensive lessons. So in the future, we can, we can be successful as investors and build for our family's future. Okay. So, obviously the last week or so, terrible sentiment, right? And that's always an indicator to me that things are way overblown, right? So fine, there's tariffs, things are changing in the world, whatever. The guy's doing what we elected him to do. You know what I'm saying? Just trust the process. That's it. Doesn't matter. However it shakes out, it shakes out. All right. So that's what they're blaming. All right. But I want to show you a chart real quick. All right. So this is the S&P 500 for since 1997. See this chart? Okay. So when you zoom out this far, you realize all right, here's the .com bust, right? Just a blip, right? Here's the great financial crisis. Remember how painful that was? Here it is right here. It's just a blip. You know what I mean? And then moving along throughout that time, that build up, here's C19. I mean, that was bam, that was terrible when that happened, right? Just a blip on the chart, and then this was, the last few years, the bear market, and then the pump up since then. And now we've come back down a little bit. I mean, it is what it is, right? Over time, these little things that seem like such crises, if you have a long enough outlook, they're just blips on a chart. That's it, and so why do I have this mentality, right? So I believe in the importance of coaching, okay? So, look at Tom Brady, he had Bill Belichick, right? What would Brady be without Belichick? I mean, he's a good quarterback, but you need the right coach. You need that mix. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. Derek Jeter had Joe Torre, right? So all the greats had coaches, right? And all of us in our lives, the things that are important to us, I think it's important that we get coaching as well, right? I'm in real estate. I've had some amazing real estate coaches and property management coaches. Shout out to Jared James for real estate coaching, Tony LeBlanc for property management coaching, and these guys have given me, they've helped me cut through the noise and figure out what's important for my business and help me implement it and create systems. There's no magic wand, right? But these are people that are good teachers that have good systems and can teach you to implement that. And what makes a business successful is the systems, right? What will make you successful as an investor is good systems, so that when this chaos happens, you're all right. You're just rolling with your systems, right? Just rolling with your systems. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I have a lot of good investment coaches. There are people that I pay. There are people that I don't pay, but I watch their content. And inspired by that, I try to make these videos to coach others and to just pay it forward, So I think that, if you have good coaching, it builds discipline. And that's the key to thriving in chaos like this, right? So what have I done over the past week, right? Because I've made some moves, man. This Easter sale has been amazing. And my birthday's coming up. So, thank you for the birthday sale, right? And you guys know what I invest in, right? I'm Bitcoin, Tesla, Solana, MicroStrategy. And I actually added one this week that I've never invested in. A lot of people asked me about it, and it was just so damn juicy. I bought a little bit, right? I added a little bit. And again, I got a 5-year outlook. So look, going back to that S&P 500 chart, in 5 years, this will just be a blip. It won't matter. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing too I wanted to mention. A lot of people are rightfully, upset that their 401ks are dropping in value, right? But I think that's the wrong approach though, right? I think it's okay. Like you got to have a reaction like we're human beings. It's not fun to look at your brokerage account and you see the balance dropping, right? But you have to put it in perspective. So 2008 financial crisis, I was 29 years old. All right. I was working. All I had at the time was my thrift savings plan that I got from the government, right? When I worked at that government job, it was my 401k, yeah, it took a massive hit. But going back to the chart, in retrospect, where's that? It's just a blip. You can barely see it. I mean, it just looks like all this undulation of the line, right? But at the time, I was like, all right, I am grateful that at the time I was smart enough to recognize that, okay, the funds that I was buying a couple of weeks ago for, I don't know, $19 or $25, whatever they were at the time, I could buy today for $9. So I was like, all right, well, I'm contributing 5%. I'm going to double that and contribute 10% and buy twice as much of those shares at half the price. And bam, because shares are what matters. Equity is what matters, right? So and the more of the shares that you can acquire when they're on sale in the long term, when that chart goes up and those blips get absorbed into the overall growth, the better you are. You know what I mean? The more you will pay yourself in the future, if that makes sense. Okay. So through coaching and seeking out advisors, I've learned these different strategies and perfected them over the years. And now I'm thoroughly enjoying this market chaos. So if you're not, maybe investing's not for you. You know what I mean? Or you need to realize, okay, if I'm going to be successful at investing, then I need to really look at this differently and learn some stuff. And hopefully my videos are helping you with that. All right. So first one, Bitcoin. Did I buy Bitcoin or did I buy Solana? So this is a chart right here, right? And this is one of my charts. And these indicators and all this, being able to read these charts is huge because it helps you time moves. It helps you recognize where things are. And this is from coaching, man. Shout out to Invest Answers. I share a lot of his stuff. I tell a lot of friends to watch his videos. That guy right there has taught me more about this stuff than anybody else. So that's definitely highly recommend following that channel and watching the content. That guy's been around for 35 years doing this stuff. And, and it's not, these people don't tell me what to trade. I just learn how all this works and I make my own judgments and I make my own decisions. And that's how it should be. That's what a good coach should do, right? Like Bill Belichick didn't go out and throw the football for Tom Brady. Tom Brady had to decide when to throw the football. Belichick helped him realize the better times to throw the ball and not to throw the ball, right? Same thing. Phil Jackson didn't take the game-winning shot for Jordan. Jordan had to do it. Phil Jackson helped Jordan realize where to take that shot from. And that's what good coaching is, right? Helping you execute, okay? So looking at this chart right here, I see that Solana, all right, so this is Bitcoin priced in Solana. So right now, one Bitcoin is 733 Solana. So I wanted to buy some Bitcoin, but then I started looking at this chart and I was like, man, like Bitcoin is very strong against Solana. Last time Solana was at this price of about $100 was in 2023 when Bitcoin was $40,000. Bitcoin's now $75,000, $80,000, and Solana's way back down to that. So Solana is way more volatile than Bitcoin, so you have to understand the relationships. But Solana is not impacted by tariffs, guys. Like crypto has no tariffs, right? Why is Solana getting beat down so hard? It's more volatile than Bitcoin. It's out the risk curve. So I decided, looking at this chart, that I would, instead of buying Bitcoin, I would buy Solana, and then wait for the chart to come back around when Solana gets stronger. So here it is in January. So when Trump coin came out, one Bitcoin was about 360 Solana. So you could have took 360 Solana, sold it, bought one Bitcoin. Now, 3 months later, one Bitcoin is about 730 Solana. So you could take half a Bitcoin, sell it, get back your Solana that you started with, and get a free half a Bitcoin. That's how these charts move. And you can see over time, there's a lot of volatility in them. So that's what I did. So I bought some Solana. Now, there was something I shared this morning regarding Solana about a stock that was up yesterday, 850%, and it's called Janiver. And what I noticed about that was, so Janiver is like some company, they do like commercial lending. I never even heard of them until yesterday. They've been around for a few years. Their stock was like $5. Like, here's their chart, right? And then this was yesterday. On one of the worst days of the year, the stock shot up 850%, okay? Because they said that they were going to take $42 million of their money and buy Solana. So when I saw that, I'm like, man, the market has no way to buy Solana in the stock market. There is no Solana stock. Solana is a crypto. Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin ETFs, you have MicroStrategy. There's other companies that own Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners. So if you're not able to buy crypto, but you want Bitcoin exposure, there's all these different options to do that. Solana doesn't have that. And here we are on like one of the worst days of the year. And all some companies said was, hey, we're going to buy Solana now. We're going to be that solution. And it went up 850% in a day. Excuse me. You know, so what does that tell you, right? Like, the market is thirsty for Solana. Okay, that's what I saw. So again, I bought some Solana over the weekend instead of buying Bitcoin because I thought it was undervalued. And when I saw that yesterday, I went and bought more Solana. But again, this is my investment thesis. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just telling you what I did. Okay, because throughout all this chaos going on, I saw this little blip of data that, you know, when you put it together with all the other things I know about Solana and what my thesis is on that crypto and all the different things that are happening with it. And if you have PayPal or Venmo, pull up the app and you'll see Solana is now available to buy in there. So it's starting to become this wider thing. And what's happening with Solana is there is an ETF. I think that will happen. Fidelity, a couple other firms, I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's a few big firms that have put in for Solana ETFs, just like the Bitcoin ETF. You know, so I personally think that the Solana price has been pushed down kind of artificially, because crypto is still able to be manipulated. So I think, you know, if you're Fidelity or BlackRock and you got trillions of dollars and you have these offshore exchanges that do shady stuff, I think you can push the price of the asset down so you can quietly stack it behind the scenes to build up your bags for your ETF. And that one little thing of data that I saw yesterday with Janiver popping 850% on a rumor that they said that they were going to buy 42 million of Solana makes me realize the market is thirsty for Solana. All right. So again, throughout the chaos, I'm focused on my assets. I only have like 4 or 5. That's it. I'm hyper focused. It's easier instead of trying to juggle 100 different stocks and ETFs. I'm like, all right, opportunity, strike. And we'll see if I'm right. I might be wrong, but I might be right. You know, so I bought in between 101 to 107, as high as like 120 on Thursday night. You know, so I think overall, you know, good buy zone for Solana. It's at 105 right now. You know, whatever. You know, my plan is 5 years out. You know, and I think Solana will be bouncing back sooner than later. All right, the next thing, obviously, I bought some Tesla. You know what I mean? Tesla's my stock. You know, I bought some Tesla. What's interesting about Tesla is it trades, there's 24-hour trading on Robinhood. So there are some stocks, and that's what's crazy because crypto trades 24/7, 365. So when Bitcoin was selling off Sunday afternoon and everyone's like, oh my God, well, that's the only thing people can liquidate to get cash on a weekend, you know, so they can go buy deals on Monday morning in the stock market, right? So that's what happens. Or they're liquidating whatever they can because they're going to get margin called Monday morning. So that's the only thing you can sell on a Sunday. The stock market really needs to go 24/7, 365. There's no reason not to. I think it's going to happen soon. But yeah, so if you trade on Robinhood, There are stocks that start trading at 8 o'clock Sunday night. So what's interesting is, let's go back to Thursday, right? So Thursday is when it all kind of started. Wednesday night after the close, Trump announced the tariffs. There was a spike and a dump. Thursday was this terrible day, 29th worst day ever in the history of S&P 500. Oh my God, right? And then Friday, the same. And then bam, Friday at 8 o'clock, all the stocks stopped. Saturday and most of Sunday, crypto was pretty flat. So I was like, all right, we might be out of the worst of it. Then Sunday around 3, 4 o'clock, I noticed Bitcoin Solana started dumping. So I'm like, all right, something's coming. Then you look at the Asian markets and you can see, because they're 12 hours ahead, they started opening up. Bam, it was like things were like really negative on Sunday. Then the futures market for the American stock market opens at 6. The news is like, oh, all over Twitter. Oh my God, everything's red. Monday's going to be Black Monday again, just like 1987. Guys, 3 days in a row is very difficult to have massive dumpage of sell-offs. All right. We've been through some rough stuff the last 20 years, and it's never been like that craziness in a row. Okay. So then, 8 o'clock Sunday night, stock market opens for the overnight trading on Robinhood. Tesla starts dumping, MicroStrategy starts dumping, so I'm like, okay, let's see what happens, right? 2 o'clock in the morning, I happen to wake up and I'm just on my phone, and my wife says I wake up all the time at night. But, so I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, Sunday night, and I'm looking, and it's just so negative. The Chinese and Thailand or Taiwan markets are like stopping, right? They're freezing the markets because it's dumping so bad. And I'm like, man, this is probably the worst of it right here. And at that moment, I was able to snag some Tesla at $215. I was like, man, I wanted to make a big buy at 221, and I kind of held off because I canceled it at 8 o'clock that evening because I wanted to see how low it would go. And so I snagged it at 215. I think it got as low as 204 or something like that, 206. And then today was at 250. And now it's dumping again, but whatever. It's down to 222, but who cares, right? But when you know what you're looking for, right? And again, Tesla is not really impacted by tariffs. Again, doesn't matter. Tesla's an AI company. My 5-year plan for Tesla is not impacted. Tesla stock is not dropping because something material changed with the Tesla investment. It's just the insanity of the market. So when you have that plan and you have you know what you're looking for, it becomes very easy to cut through the noise. And I was correct. 2 a.m. Sunday, I made my moves. Monday, the market opened in America and everything. I had a great day yesterday. And it followed up today. But again, it's a volatile market, guys. Up and down, up and down. It doesn't matter. Just snag your dips. It doesn't matter. Okay. So you don't I don't advocate blindly buying dips of anything that's down. That's insanity, right? But you have to know your core group of investments and be able to recognize opportunities. And when the market in the media, in social media, and everything is just so negative and everything is just like, oh my God, the world is ending, because people love to share bad news. You know what I mean? And when it's so much of that, that's probably a good time. Now, on the flip side, when you're tempted to screenshot your gains and everyone's sharing their gains, that's probably a good time to sell. And I'm still working on getting better at that. All right. And then the last thing I did this last week so far is I added something to my very small stable of investments, and that's NVIDIA, right? I've never invested in NVIDIA before. Another AI play. I think they're probably the second strongest one. I don't think their AI moat is as strong as Tesla's. I don't think anyone's going to catch Tesla for what they've built as far as their AI. But, NVIDIA builds the chips, right? So anybody who's doing AI needs NVIDIA's chips to run their data centers, right? The brains of the AI. And right now they're number one in that space. They were as high as 150. I got them Thursday night at like 102. So I like to buy stocks after the close, by the way. I'm telling you, Robinhood and after hours trading, most platforms support after hours trading. But Robinhood gives you 24 hours on the good names. But yeah, so I got that. It got down to 88 on Friday. Right now, I think it's like 95 or something. It dropped a little more. Yeah, 96. I really don't care. I just bought a little chunk at 102, very small position, percentage-wise. But I wanted to have a little bit. I think it'll shoot up once things start to like ratchet up again. I think it'll shoot back up quick. and I'll probably just dump it and flip it into Tesla or something else. I don't know. But I did get some. And again, like I'm not chasing it down. I know about Nvidia. It's kind of been on my radar, but I know enough about it. I follow it, right? Because I think it's the second best AI play right now. But I finally pulled the trigger on it. All right. So long game, my 5-year plan is still intact. This Easter sale is great. There's a lot of volatility to come. I think this next year is going to be just a lot of this up and down, dramatic moves. Then you'll have long periods of boringness. Then you'll have some dramatic moves. They say that 10 days a year is when all the money is made in the stock market. So if you're not in the market on those 10 days, your gains like evaporate. It's nuts. And I've seen the studies on it, again, through coaching, right? You follow the right content, you follow the right content creators. I think, if you don't have a Twitter account and you're trying to be an investor, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, right? There's so much amazing stuff on Twitter right now, so many good follows that, you could get the equivalent of whatever Bloomberg terminal is a month just by following certain accounts on Twitter for nothing. And I think if there's someone who provides a lot of value and you get a lot out of them, and you follow their content, and they offer like a Patreon or a subscription package on Twitter, you should support the people that you're learning from, right? So my plan hasn't changed. I don't think any of this matters for my stuff. I think that short term, there's a lot of volatility. Again, you look at those charts over time, it doesn't matter. Right. And what's crazy is all this craziness, right? Literally one news story will break and the whole thing will just turn and go up. It happens so fast. So don't be scared. If you know what you're into and you have your focus and you know where you are and you know why things are happening to your investments, don't be scared to pull the trigger and add more. Do you know what I mean? Definitely, I'd rather lose a little money on some Tesla stock in the short term than waste that money on, I don't know, something stupid that I didn't need anyways. Like, I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? So, all right, guys. So just stay calm, stick to your plan. If you got any questions, comment below, and just educate yourselves, right? And if you're not in it or you're scared, that's okay. If you made some mistakes, that's cool. I made a lot of mistakes over the years, but learn from those mistakes, right? Do some paper trading. Hey, I would have bought this at that price. How would I have done? And that's how you build your confidence, right? And you got to recognize different things and jump in. And who knows? Tesla can go to 150 tomorrow, right? If this whole market just goes crazy and something wild happens, then so be it, But as long as nothing changed about my investment, I don't care. If it goes to 150, I don't know, I may have to sell a body part to get some cash. I don't know, whatever. We'll cross that bridge. But yeah, guys, all right, take it easy. Enjoy life. It's beautiful. Spring is here and, enjoy the volatility ride. All right, guys, take it easy.